Well, it may be too hot to plant, but it's not too hot to plan. And that's what I'm doing right now as it relates to most of my boxwood balls. I'm thinking of it as boxwood ball bingo. I'm just moving things around until I become a winner and I get the effect that I want. So I always have kind of a starting point. And my starting point here is actually the entirety of the garden, because I look at it and I'm going to start doing kind of a schematic of where the evergreens are in the upper terrace, because it can be kind of difficult to see that right now because there's so many things in bloom. But why am I wanting to do that? Because I want to make sure that this area has winter evergreen interest in addition to just the foliar interest and the floral interest that I have right now. In other words, I don't want them to look barren in winter. There is such a thing as a winter garden. And I want to make sure that this is as attractive and almost as compelling in winter as it is in the summer. So I'm making note of where I have different evergreens. I mean, you can see the obvious ones. I've got some really large boxwood balls, but then I also have several smaller boxwood balls and even smaller yet kind of boxwood balls to be, like this one over here. So one thing what I'm going to be doing this fall is I'm going to be taking out some of these candy butterfly because I planted them too densely, not being really that familiar with their growth habit, and I'll transplant them someplace else. And then I will be adding more evergreens, more primarily boxwood balls. So where am I going to get the boxwood balls? Well, this is where it comes in. It's kind of like a set of dominoes. And this is how my brain works, as scary as that may be, Stuart. So I look at this one and I think, okay, this one is beautiful and it's about to outgrow its pot. So this one really needs to be planted in the ground. So when it cools off, when I pull out some of these annuals that are starting to look a little straggly, then I will decide the perfect placement for this boxwood ball, as I will for all of this foxglove that is growing at the base. Now, it's too hot to do this now, but I'm already thinking about the future. But I like the position of this evergreen here in a pot. So I want the pot to remain. Okay, so what then am I going to put in this pot to replace this one that is a little bit too overgrown? Well, I've got two different options. But probably the one I'm going to go with is this one, because this one is a little bit too overgrown for its container, and I will move this one to the larger container over there. So it's like hopscotch. I'm referencing every kid's game there is, but this one will then move over there. Okay, then I have an empty pot. So what is going to go in here then, you say? Well, then I will probably put this topiary either in that pot. Which one? This one right here. I was looking at the one behind us. Because it's getting a little bit too large for this pot. And this is one, by the way, that I started from scratch. I started it as a baby. So I can either move it to that pot, or where I am more likely to move it. Are you keeping up? I need a little graph. Yeah. I need a little graph. Where I'm more likely to put it is in this pot, because this pot doesn't have an evergreen in it at all, and in the winter it will just look empty. So probably, because this is a large container, it is heavy, it is very, very durable, very heavy. And it, I think, will very much protect the root zone of that topiary. So in all likelihood, I will move that topiary into here, and the sedum autumn joy I'm going to use on autumn's edge, because I don't have any of it in there and I want to put more of it in there. So that one I am going to move here. And that's just kind of how my brain works. Some of the topiary that's on the front porch may go live on the back steps. I'm not 100% sure. I might even get some more boxwood. I am beyond thrilled with the performance of the Vater boxwood. I mean, it is 104 and it has not skipped a beat. Everywhere, in every single location, it is handling the elements absolutely beautifully. It is making a beautiful, shiny, evergreen ground cover now, and later it will be a shrub, more of a shrubbish ground cover, and I love the way it looks, and I also love the way the evergreen forms, the balls, the cones, the topiary look in winter, especially when they have a dusting of snow.
There's no way that's the basil.
That is the basil.
There's no way.
Yes, it is, Stuart. That basil started out like this one right here. And it's just overgrown. I need to cut it back. While we're standing here, I'm going to see if any of this, I'm letting this one go to seed because this will be really prized seed once it does go to seed. And it's not quite dry enough yet. It's not quite dry. But inside there, it's impossible for you to see right now, but inside there will be little black seeds. There's one. Okay, there's one. And I'm letting all of this go to seed because now I know how prized a plant this is. And I think you mentioned it, Stuart, because it looks so much like boxwood, i.e. boxwood basil. So I will let all of this dry and go to seed, and I will save lots of the seed because I will be planting it everywhere on both terraces. My design objective for next year is to have this side maybe resemble this side a little bit more. So that's just, I'm just kind of working on that. But that's kind of how my mind works is, you know, I just find a starting point, a need. Then I find something that might be able to fit that need, starting out first with something I already have. And then I've created a void. What can I use to fill that void? Preferably something I already have. And so it's just, okay, the only game I haven't referenced, I guess, is pinball, Stuart. So whether you play bingo, you play hopscotch, you play dominoes, or you play pinball, all of those analogies are great when it's too hot to plant and you are trying to plan your garden. Have a great Sunday, you guys, and that's the garden life.